The situation in Flint, Michigan made headlines for months as city residents and the whole country learned what was supposed to be a cost-saving measure had gone dramatically wrong. Many other communities wondered, could it also happen here? Up through 1990, all these U.S. cities and many more had lead pipes somewhere in their water systems. Not just Flint and Philadelphia, but also New Orleans.
One thing that kept bothering me was the really high rates of childhood lead poisoning in the city of New Orleans. And when I looked at the water quality data, over half of the samples had detectable lead.
Adrienne Katner is a professor of public health at LSU.
What we've found is that only about 5% of the homes that I've sampled actually exceed EPA's action level of 15 parts per billion. When you're talking about a city, I think New Orleans is about 400,000 people, and you're talking about 5% or 2% or even 1%, even at 1% is exceeding the action level. That equates into 4,000 children that could be potentially lead poisoned. So this is something that we need to be proactive about to reduce our exposure.
We get that to you.
Katner started distributing test kits and working with community groups to raise awareness of the issue.
We're working with LSU Health Sciences to make sure people know their homes are free of lead.
I really couldn't do this without citizen involvement. I really relied a lot on a lot of the local nonprofits to help me to motivate the citizens and get them involved, to distribute kits and to get the word out about the issues.
If you live in an old house in New Orleans, that's a risk factor. If you're living in a
While almost everyone knows about the health risks of lead paint, lead in drinking water is also dangerous.
Water is unique because that is something we're actually ingesting on a daily basis. And even though the levels might be low, this is a chronic exposure. Certainly for infants that are fed bottled water, they can have 80% of their total lead levels be just from water. The very lowest doses of lead, especially when a child is developing, have the biggest impact, especially in young boys that are exposed to high levels of lead. They might come out as very aggressive, antisocial. In all kids, we see educational problems, learning disabilities, attention deficit disorders, and that's a message that we're failing to get across to the public. There's a lot of things that families can do to reduce their lead exposures. There are filters you can get now that are NSF certified that you can get for as low as $16. This is something we need to take seriously as a nation and educate the citizens around the country about the impact of low-dose lead levels and ways to prevent exposure, because they're there. We don't need to be exposed to lead in water anymore.